Good day, everyone. Eric Olsen from Helps YouTube. Hope you can hear me okay. Let me know in the chat feature. I want to make sure you can hear me. Um, Glad to be here. My name's Eric. I'm an attorney now, 46 years, founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm that represents seniors and disabled persons who owe a debt they can't afford to pay. We represent them under a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which provides if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call or send you demand letters anymore. They have to leave you alone. They have to deal with the attorney, not you. And we do these YouTube live sessions Monday through Thursday um, in order to talk to seniors about how they can maintain their financial independence. And we talk about things that seniors have problems with financially that would help them. So I noticed a comment from someone from Ohio. They had written in. They says, "How do I actually get your help with my financial issues? I understand what you do, but not know how to do it." So if you've been listening to me for a while, or if you're a member of Helps, you understand what people do when they find out about Helps. They call us. We interview them. We ask them a few questions. Just takes a few minutes. We want to know what their income is, their age, where they live. Are they buying a home? Are they buying a car? How much they owe? We get some basic facts, and then we can tell the senior, hey, your income is protected. No one can take it. Your Social Security is protected. Your pension is protected. No one can touch it, and you don't need to pay this debt. And if you want our help, you can enroll in Helps. We send a cease and desist letter out to the debt collectors you owe. Under federal law, they can't call you or send you demands anymore. And we represent our clients ongoing, not just one time, literally forever, as long as they want us to. So they don't have to deal with collectors. You can always call with questions, no matter what happens, no matter how many times you want to call. So that's how we do it. Well, in other words, when you enroll, you give us the creditors to whom you owe money, or debt collectors. And then we send out what's called a cease and desist letter, which is a letter under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that's sent to a debt collector, lets them know that they're not to communicate with our client anymore. And under the law, they can't. So that's what we do. And we do a lot of other things as well. But our major mission is to protect seniors from collector harassment. Okay? And no one's told me that they can hear me. So I trust you can hear me. Okay? Okay. Okay, one of my paralegals wrote in and sent me a message this morning. Uh, it says, I have a few different calls in regards to Elon Musk canceling Social Security. I thought it may be a good idea to address these concerns on YouTube Live because it seems like a lot of seniors are panicking about this. They may not be comfortable to hear you address. Good. No one's going to cancel Social Security. Elon Musk is not. He doesn't have any authority to cancel Social Security, and Congress would never do that. There'd be rioting in the streets. No, Social Security is not going away. I can promise you that. I can assure you that. It's here to stay. You paid into it during your lifetime. It's your benefit. If Social Security goes away, the whole government crumbles. So no, you don't need to worry about that. Your Social Security is here. Okay? But just want to assure you on that. Okay. And then a comment that came in yesterday, or questions on the comment part, and I like to address. Sometimes if I'm careful, if I'm with it, I'll try to address those on YouTube Live. It says, when I die, does my debt go to my children's? No, no, no. We've talked about that before, but a lot of new people are on this channel, and so we repeat things sometimes. So don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. No, when you die, your kids are not going to owe your debt. You don't need to worry about that. It dies with you. Okay. Now, what about a spouse? Well, if the spouse is on the debt with you, yes, if they signed for the debt. But if you sign for the debt by yourself and then you die, no, your spouse isn't going to owe the debt. It's going to die with you. Well, some people, and I've talked about this again, but before, there's what's called community property states. There's 7 community property states in the United States, and under those community property laws, technically, if you own an asset in your name only, and it's a it's both the husband and wife are deemed to own it. And the same thing if you have a debt, if it's in one of the spouse's name, the other spouse is deemed to owe that debt. However, like I've explained a lot, it's not the practice of credit card companies in community property states if only one of the spouses signed on the credit card to go after the surviving spouse when the one spouse who signed for it dies. They just simply don't do that. So, no, you're not going to have to worry about paying a debt. And then this person asked, I only have burial insurance. Can they take that away from me? No way. Mm-mm. No, the burial insurance is safe. It's going to be protected under state law. No, there's no way that there's going to be a problem with your burial insurance. Okay, excuse me. So good to have you here. Um, if you have any questions, put them in the chat feature. I'd love to address them. Do my best to answer your questions. That's what we're here for. It helps. Um, so this person wrote in, I spoke with an attorney at a certain law firm. He told me to contact you about the debt we owe that we can't pay. My husband receives Social Security and 2 small pensions. I receive Social Security. He advised me to stop paying the debt and you would contact them and have them stop contacting us. My husband is very ill. Please advise us what we need to do. I may have read this yesterday. It seems a little bit familiar. Okay, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, if you get Social Security, your Social Security is protected from debt collectors. So is your pension. Your pension is protected under a federal law called ERISA, Employment Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, and almost all pensions are protected under that federal law. And if it's not protected under that federal law, then there's a state law that will protect your pension. So your pension is protected, your Social Security is protected, has been since ever Social Security was ever founded, from creditors being able to get at it. Okay. And so if you're getting a Social Security and a pension, you have debt you can't afford to pay, you can stop paying it. If they were to sue you and get a judgment, they can't touch your money. And then we also talk about, many times we've explained to seniors that twice the amount of your federal benefits deposited into your bank account is automatically protected from garnishment, regardless of what funds are in there or where they came from. So if you got $1,800 in Social Security each month, 1,800 times 2 is $3,600. That sum would be protected from garnishment. In the event someone were to sue you and get a judgment, that amount would be protected in your bank account by your bank without you having to do anything, no matter what other funds happen to be in the account. So you could have money in that account from some other source, it's still protected. All the bank has to do is look at where the money came from, and they can determine that. There's a code on the deposit, lets them know it came from a federal source like Social Security. They times that times 2. They protect that amount automatically, and they don't have to worry about if money in your account was from some other source in addition to that Social Security. So we tell a lot of our clients, as long as you have less than twice the amount of your Social Security in there, if someone were to sue you and get a judgment, try to garnish your account, they get nothing. People tell me, well, Eric, I never have more than twice the amount of my Social Security in my account. You have nothing to worry about. Okay? So, that's one of the main purposes it helps is to let seniors know that they don't need to worry. Okay. Dwight asks, does the bank, I don't have any opinion on the best bank to switch to, you know, although I would say this, we've had a problem with Truist Bank lately in their procedures on what they do. I've explained that before. Um, does the bank tell us if we're under if we're under scrutiny for a possible garnishment? Well, they don't tell you ahead of time because they don't know ahead of time. Okay, the way it works, if someone sues you and gets a judgment against you, Dwight, and they happen to know where you bank, which isn't a given, it's not easy to find where someone banks, then they would um, serve a writ of garnishment on your bank. If they know where you bank, they'd serve a writ of garnishment, and the bank has 48 hours to examine the account to determine if money came from a federal source like Social Security. And if it came from a federal source, they automatically protect twice that amount. But they don't let you know ahead of time. If they had to let you know ahead of time, then everyone would take their money out of their account and garnishment wouldn't work. But you don't need to worry about being garnished. You know, if you get Social Security or pension and you listen to helps and keep the balance in there less than twice the amount of your federal benefit you get each month, then they're not going to take anything. And you don't even need to worry about it if you haven't been sued. And if you get sued, it doesn't mean they can garnish you the next day. They'd have to get a judgment, which is 1, 2, 3 months down the road. Okay. What about disability benefits? Um, SSI. No way on SSI. SSI is part of Social Security. It's not going to stop. No way on God's green earth is that going to happen. That is not a worry for you guys, for anyone, okay? I mean, I don't want people could always talk about what ifs, what ifs. And some people scare people by talking about what ifs. But the likelihood of Social Security stopping is about as likelihood is the entire earth being get invaded by aliens on Friday afternoon coming down. It's just not going to happen. Okay. April asks, my name is on my mom's bank account, but I have my own Social Security benefit. Will her account be affected if I don't pay my debt and get a judgment? Well, that's a good question. It doesn't matter whose name is on the account. Okay. What matters is what money went into the account. So if your mom has Social Security going into her bank account, it doesn't matter whose name is on the account. If you were garnished, twice the amount of Social Security that's deposited in that mom's account is automatically protected without you having to do anything. Now, if there was more than that in there, you could get it released. You just have to file some paperwork. But if you were to keep it less than twice the amount, no, you can have your name on your mom's account. See, what they would do, if they garnish the account into which your name is on with your mom, your bank will look at the account, your mom's account, your name's on it, and they can see, oh, Social Security went in this account. Twice that's protected. Doesn't matter if your name is on it or if King Kong's name's on it. Doesn't matter. It's protected. Twice the amount. Okay? Are there other banks besides Truist that you have trouble with? No. The only reason we have trouble with Truist is they kind of copied credit unions in that if you don't pay them, they will try to set off money from your account to pay the debt that you owe Truist Bank. They put an agreement in there that credit unions have in their contracts for credit cards or their banking agreements when you enter into contracts with them, when you enter into an account with them. Question: on a 982 form, what are considered debts you owe? It is only things you are paying interest on. Well, okay, no. A 982 form is a form that you file if you're required to file taxes that would cancel off a debt from a 1099-C. And so the second box is you don't owe any tax. Is one if you file bankruptcy. Another one is if you're insolvent, which means your debt exceeds your assets. That means any type of debt you owe. Okay, be debt on a car, debt on credit cards, debt on a car that went back, a mortgage. If you add up all your debt and then your assets, your debt exceeds your assets, you're insolvent. But for a lot of different reasons, you're not going to have to pay taxes for 1099-C. And if a lot of seniors aren't even required to file tax returns, and we tell them Don't worry about a 1099-C. You don't need to file a tax return just to take care of a 1099-C. IRS doesn't follow up on that. They don't do anything about it. Okay? Is Bitcoin protected? I don't know how anyone would ever get at your Bitcoin. Technically, it's not, but there's no way anyone could ever get at it. How are they going to find out about it? Not to worry about. Okay. So yeah, your Social Security disability is protected. It's not at risk. Don't need to worry about it, Johnny. So this person contacted us from Virginia. It says served a lawsuit from a credit union and have other debt. Our ages are 75 and 64. We need an appointment. Okay. No, you don't need an appointment with helps. You just call us on the phone whenever you want. Our phones are answered from about 9 o'clock Eastern Time till 8 o'clock in the evening Eastern Time. That would be, I don't know, like about 6 to 5 Pacific Time. So we've got a wide range of times when our phones are answered. Okay, so you can call anytime. 855-435-7787. Or you can remember it this way. 855 helps HELPS, help eliminate legal problems for seniors, us or US, helps us. 855 helps us, helps US. So April asks, will I be able to rent an apartment if I stop paying debt and it shows on my credit report? Well, okay. I'll answer it this way. One thing, we have a form letter that we'll give to anyone, whether they're a member of HELPS or not. We call it our landlord letter that explains to a prospective landlord that you're applying to rent for, that tells them that your income is Social Security. It's protected by federal law. It can't be taken from you. Even if you have negative entries on your credit and someone were to sue you, it can't be garnished. So it will always be available to pay rent. It's kind of a nice letter. And we'll give it to any senior, whether they're a client or not, that they could show it to a prospective landlord. And a lot of times that prospective landlord will read that and say, oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, no, we can take your application. We do that so people can save their application fee, because sometimes a landlord might say, well, we're owned by a corporation and we have corporate requirements. But a lot of times the person taking the application, they have the decision-making ability. And a lot of them don't realize that seniors' income is protected and will be available to pay rents. Seniors are some of the best tenants ever, okay? And then also, if you're a member of HELPS for more than 90 days, you can enroll in a program that HELPS pays a company to do. It's called 7 Steps to a 720 Credit Score. Within a year and a half, 2 years, you can get your credit score right up there. Your credit is based on your recent credit history. And lawsuits and judgments are not part of credit reports anymore. So no, you can get your credit back. You should be able to rent. And so, yeah, Sunset echoes what I just said. Okay. So we got an email from a client that enrolled not too long ago, and it says, Money Man and Express Loans won't stop calling. And I did that. And before Helps today, I got one of our new paralegals on the line, and I said, I'm going to call this person back with you on the line so you can listen to me. And I got the person on the line. They were from Mississippi. And I looked at the file and I said, well, two things. One is, we just sent the letter out on January 23rd. That's 11 days ago. It usually might take a week of 4 to 5 days, at least sometimes, for the letter to get to the lender that you owe money to, or the creditor. And then it might take them another week or two to process that. So they may not have even processed that. And that's why you're still getting the calls. But another thing, too, is, Money Man and Express Loans, I don't know who they are, but just by the name I can tell that they're high interest lenders. They're the original lenders. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which is the law under which HELPS operates, technically applies to debt collectors. When we send a cease and desist letter out to a debt collector, they can't call or send demand letters anymore. But that law doesn't apply to original creditors except in a few states. So it's not unusual for a high interest lender to maybe ignore our letter if they get it and still contact people. In that instance, we tell them, I asked her, this person, I said, can you tell who's calling? She says, yeah. And I said, just ignore the call. They're going to stop calling. They're going to get our letter. They're going to realize that it's not going to do any good. So they can't be sued because they're an original lender for violating the law. Okay? So this person's from Missouri. And it says, my wife has been out of work for over 6 months and we're behind on her car note and I can't afford to pay it. Now that's all the information I have. Okay. But let me talk about it. Okay. So let me say this, I'll be 74 in a few days. I've been an attorney now for 46 years, probably filed 40,000 bankruptcies before HELPS was started. So I know a lot about debt collectors and what they do and what they can't do and what might happen and why there won't be any problems for people. In fact, that's why I started HELPS, because I was able, seniors are kind of a special situation. So I'm assuming this person is a senior and the wife's not working and they can't afford a car payment anymore. Well, they can let it go back. Okay. Now, what happens when a car goes back? Well, how does that happen? Well, when you stop making the payment, eventually they're going to come repossess it. If you need the car, you might be able to hang on to it for a few months. They can't break the law to repossess the car, which means they can't break into your garage. Okay. If you were standing in front of the car, or you're in it, they couldn't require you to move, so they couldn't repossess it. I could tell you stories about that, a lot of them. I had a lot of clients when I was doing bankruptcies. They were going to try to keep the car, and I get a call on the phone, and the receptionist would call me, would say, Eric, there's someone, the car's getting repossessed on the phone. Well, no matter what I was doing, I would stop that and talk to them. A couple of times I'd say, well, where are you at? And she said, I'm at my front door. And I'd say, well, you go out there and stand in front of your car with your phone. And they go, and they do that. And I'd say, you don't move under any condition. They can't touch you to make you move. The car repo guy knows that, and they're going to leave. A couple of times, a cop would come by and say, well, ma'am, you have to leave. You have to move. They're repossessing your car. And I'd say, you tell the officer that this is a civil, you have an attorney. The attorney is telling the officer it's a civil matter. Well, in a few minutes, the cop would leave, and the lender would leave. The repossessing guy would leave. So I'm not telling people to drag on and hold your car for a long time, but you might need it, if you're paying for a couple months saving that money up, you might be able to buy a used car on Craigslist Marketplace or on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace to replace that transportation where you don't have a car payment anymore. You pay something for cash. It doesn't have to be brand new. It's possible to buy a used car for a reasonable price. Owner only, runs good. Okay, not everywhere in the country. Cars are more available in certain parts of the country than other parts of the country, but you can get transportation. I don't know how I got on that jag, but I got on it. Okay. Oh yeah, the guy is behind the car. The wife's car is going to go back. My late husband used to be a repo man. He had a few stories to tell. Yeah, I bet he did. But they all know that. They all know they can't break the law to repossess the car. And that's the one basic thing. If you can't move, touch anyone, that's an assault, okay, or a battery. When you touch someone, that's a crime, okay? And cops are generally well trained to know what a civil matter is. It's not a criminal matter. Repossession is civil. It's not criminal. He's not supposed to get involved. Now, of course, if you're in some backwoods place, so to speak, and you might have a cop that's got an in with the repo guy, he might throw his weight around and break the law. But anyway, okay. Yeah, one loan company called me for about 6 months, and then finally, I guess after talking to help several times, they must have finally got the message that I could not pay. They've not heard anymore. Yeah, they get the message. Hopefully, it's not for 6 months. But you got to realize if it's a debt collector, they stop contacting you. But if it's a unless it's a scammer, they'll stop too. I mean, it's a if they realize that your income and Social Security is protected and you know your rights, it's a waste of their time to try to collect from you, and they eventually realize that. Okay. So this person contacted us from Michigan. I have two old judgments that are almost 10 years old, and I'm worried they're going to extend the judgments. Well, what do you mean by that? So, if someone sues you and gets a judgment is good for a certain number of years. It depends on your state. I guess in Michigan, a judgment is good for 10 years, which is fairly common. It might be less in some states, but some states that have a judgment that goes, for example, for 10 years, provides that it could be extended for another 10 years if they take certain steps. So they're worried that this judgment, someone's going to take steps to extend it. So let me read on. My wife is about to retire, and I have not worked for 12 years. We are both veterans and are moving ourselves to a retired life in the next few months. We have some money in a 401(b), which is going to be protected, okay? And we'll be living on over the next 2 years, and then both of us will be enrolled in Social Security. Also, at the end of this year, we will be enrolled in either Medicare Advantage or supplement plan. We would like to make sure both of these old judgments are gone by the end of the year and transition to a trouble-free retirement. We are strongly considering to enroll in your services. Well, whether they extend the judgment or not, it doesn't matter. They can't touch your Social Security or your 401(b), your retirement funds. They're protected. The only issue could be maybe if you're buying a home, if you intend to sell the home. And then it might be a problem if there's a judgment out there. It depends on the state where you live and what the exemption laws are and how a judgment can be removed. So for example, Texas and Florida, if you have a judgment and it's a lien on the home, there's a process for getting the lien removed so you can sell the home and keep all the money. In other states, for example, California, you've got an exemption, a homestead exemption of at least 600,000 or more, depending on the county where you live. And that means the judgment doesn't even attach to the home as being a problem. And so it depends on the state, but usually not a problem. If you're going to stay in the home, there's no issue. So, and I don't have any control about whether a creditor would renew the judgment or not. A lot of times if it's a collection firm and they're pretty efficient, they might be pretty efficient about seeing that judgment gets renewed. They're just hoping against hope that maybe someday that you're going to have to pay that debt for whatever reason in the future, when a home gets sold, for example. So this person contacted us from California. I'm 73 years old. I'm part-time employment and earn about 35,000 a year. I just filed my 21, 22, and 23 taxes and owe about 30,000 before penalties. I engaged a bankruptcy firm in late 23, paying them about $1,200, and after procrastination by me and a delay by them, they have abruptly dropped me as a client without warning a month ago. Reason is I had health problems. I've been concentrating on improving my health, figuring that if I don't have a heart, it doesn't matter how much I owe. You're right. I seem to improve my health and would really appreciate your advice on best course of action. My net Social Security is about $2,800 a month, and two work pensions that are a fair amount. But I don't have any savings. I'd like to know if I have any recourse with the bankruptcy firm, as they did absolutely nothing. I'll talk about that in a second. Um, Whether I can expect any mercy from the IRS. Yes. Any advice you can give me on how to put this behind me. I found out about you from seniorliving.org, YouTube. Thanks in advance for any assistance you can offer. And then he wants him to call, and we'll call him back. One of the attorneys will call him back. So the guy owes taxes for 21, 22, and 23, and contracted with a bankruptcy attorney. Well, okay, believe it or not, taxes can be discharged in bankruptcy, but they have to be old enough. And these taxes weren't old enough. In order to wipe out a tax in bankruptcy, it has to be at least 3 years old and filed for at least 2 years ago. So today's 2024. 21 taxes were due April 15th, 22. 22 to 23, 23 to 20, 20, 21. 22 to 23, 23 to 24, 24 to 25. They won't be dischargeable till next April 15th or October 15th, depending on when you filed. But 22 and 23 taxes beyond that. So filing a bankruptcy to wipe out the tax, don't need to do it. Now, a person could file a Chapter 13 and provide to pay the tax over a period of 3 to 5 years, but you probably don't even need to do that. So what would I tell this person? Okay, first off, apparently they're not working anymore. They live in California. If they're married, I don't know if they're married, but if they're married, um, you know, you can make about $3,500 or a little bit more than that in states where it's more expensive to live, and the IRS can put you on what's called currently not collectible status. And this guy's income is pretty close to being able to qualify for currently not collectible status. So he could contact the IRS, and if he's worried about it, and then he could, you know, go over the budget with them, and they could put him on currently not collectible status, or they might set him up with a small payment. Okay. Now, if he did nothing, maybe the IRS wouldn't do anything, but eventually they might say that they're going to offset 15% of his Social Security. So he says he gets, how much does he get in Social Security? $2,800. So what's 15% of Social Security? Well, 280 plus, what is it? Terrible. Uh, about $350 they could offset maybe $350, $360 of his Social Security. Um, they wouldn't touch his pension, and he might be just happy for them to eventually do that. But they're not going to do that without giving him a 60-day notice of intent to do that, and that would give him time to contact them and maybe get on currently not collectible status or get set up on a smaller payment. Or he could pay the $30,000 over 6 years. Um, you know, payment would be whatever that would be, $400 a month, something like that. But no, he's going to be able to deal with those taxes. There's not going to be an issue. You can call and we'll talk to you. So, our major function, our major mission is to protect seniors from collector harassment. Our second mission is to help seniors maintain their financial independence. So we give information to seniors who owe taxes to how to resolve that problem. Now, if he owed the state any income taxes, we tell him, well, technically you really don't need to pay it because the state can't take your Social Security, they can't take your pension. And the money in your bank account is protected from the state tax collector from garnishing you just like a credit card. Twice the amount of your federal benefits is protected automatically. So, we help people in different areas, like taxes, student loans, that kind of thing. We don't want you to worry is the main thing. You can always call with questions. Um, Okay, here we go. Okay, this person contacted us from Ohio. Okay, I have a student loan, credit card debt, and other collections. Uh, it sounds familiar, but that's okay. I am disabled and have been declared as, you know, they're getting Social Security disability since 2011. Well, if you're disabled and you owe student loans, you get the student loans discharged. We have an email that tells you how to do that. One of the nice things that helps does we provide legal information to seniors. A lot of this stuff you can just do it on your own. You can get your student loan you can get the student loan discharge if you're disabled. Okay. Um, Credit card debt. If you're getting Social Security, you don't have to pay the credit card debt. If you don't want to be harassed, you can enroll in helps. The creditor's going to leave you alone. Same with the other collections that you owe. I wouldn't. Don't worry about it. So this person writes in, I need help with financial debt. Been with the company GRT for a couple years. I don't know who they are. It sounds like it's probably a debt management company or a debt settlement company. Um, we haven't talked about those yet today, but we will. I I rarely talk about them. Just kidding. We talk about them all the time. Okay. Uh, I'm 71 and live on Social Security. I'm needing to go into an assisted living. I have very scary surgery coming up and need to not worry about these debts. Plus, I've been told my kids will have to pay when I die. No, they won't have to pay when you die. You know, one already tried to make my daughter pay. Those are dishonest debt collectors. No, your kids are not responsible for your debt. Okay? If when you pass away, your family is going to have to pay your debt. Now, if you have an estate where you have a bunch of assets, then yeah, there may be a requirement that under your estate pays for your debts. Most of our clients don't have that issue. Okay? But your children are not going to be responsible for your debt. You don't need to worry about that. Okay? You don't need to be with a debt management company. You can stop it. If your income, you're 71, I'm sure your income is, you're not working, so your income is Social Security and a pension or disability or VA benefits. It's protected by federal law. You do not need to pay this debt you can't afford to pay. If you need the money uh, for your assisted living, you can use it for that. You can stop paying the credit card debt, and you can stop paying this debt management company. I tell people that when they tell me they've been enrolled in a debt management company, I ask them, well, when you enrolled with them, were you ever told, by the way, Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones, your Social Security and your pension is protected by federal law. It can't be taken from you. You really don't need our help, and there's a way you can get the creditors from bothering you. Did they ever tell you that? And the answer is always no, Eric. They never told me that. Well, why don't they tell you that? Well, if they would have told you that, you wouldn't have enrolled with them, and they wouldn't be making money off you. So even the nonprofit ones, with few exceptions, don't tell seniors, by the way, your income is protected. You don't need our help. Instead, they sign up sometimes seniors that are lower income and put them in utter poverty, making a payment on a debt management or debt settlement program that the senior doesn't need to be involved with. Okay? So, we don't want you to worry. If you enroll in helps, and when you enroll in helps, you're going to give us the creditors you owe money to, the ones that you were paying through this GRT, wherever it is, and we're going to send them a cease and desist letter. They're going to leave you alone. And if you're worried at all, you're going to pick up the phone and you're going to call us because you don't need to worry. And your kids don't need to pay the debt. So Mary says, I'm in West Virginia and I'm disabled and I'm trying to pay my credit card debt and medical debt and debt consolidation organization keeps contacting me. You bet they contact you. Why? Why do they contact you? Well, okay, first off, it's probably a for-profit debt settlement company that's contacting you. They get wind that you owe debt, and then they reach out to you in some fashion, maybe by letter or phone or whatever, saying, "Hey, we can help you with this debt." Why? Because they get paid when if you make an arrangement to pay your debt through them. They have a contract that they get to keep a certain amount of your money. Okay, but when you enroll with them or when they communicate with you, they're never going to tell you that your Social Security or your pension is protected. They're not going to tell you that. If they told you that, you would enroll with them and they wouldn't get paid. So, in a lot of instances, I just think these debt settlement companies and many of these debt management companies, even the nonprofit ones, when it comes to seniors, they're nothing but frauds and scammers. Okay. Now, if you're a younger person and you had a job with wages, that might be a different matter. But for a senior who has protected income, if you withhold the information from that seniors that their income is protected, they don't need to pay the debt, and no one can take anything from them, then you're being dishonest. You're acting in your own financial interest, not in the financial interest of the person that you're supposedly helping. Okay? It's terrible. And why do I say it's terrible? I've talked to too many widows that maybe make $1,200 a month. They have $500 or $600 in rent, and they're paying $200 or $300 to a debt management company or a debt settlement company to pay their debt when they don't have to pay it, and they're living off a couple $100. And I just wonder, what is the conscience of these people that tell these seniors that they need to do that? It just befuddles me. And this isn't something that is rare. It happens. We hear about this every day at Helps, all day long. It's terrible. Someday, hopefully, if we get big enough, there can be some legislation to deal with this, because it really is bad what some of these debt management companies do. I'm talking about how they prey on seniors or disabled persons who get protected income. You don't have to worry about being sued. If they sue and get a judgment, your Social Security, your pension is protected. It's protected in your bank account, as I explained earlier today. You're good, and they're not going to take your other assets. You're going to be fine. You don't need to worry. You don't need to worry. So, if you're new to Helps or new to this channel, you can look at some of our other videos. You can we have videos with seniorliving.org. We have on their YouTube channel. We have lots of videos on this channel here on different topics that you can look at, or you can look at other days that we talk about, Monday through Thursday for an hour. Okay. But let's go on. Person contacts us from Oklahoma. Oh, this is a good one. I put these down here, these little notes from people. I put this a few days ago. I just haven't got to it. But I'm in the process of filing for bankruptcy, but I'm concerned about losing my gun collection. I believe I may be judgment proof, but I'm seeking advice or a second opinion. Okay. So, bankruptcy is a federal law. Okay, but the exemptions that you can claim, there are some federal exemptions. Some states opt into those or they opt out of them. Okay, or some states you can choose a federal exemption or a state exemption. But most bankruptcy exemptions are state. They're under state law. I think the state I live in, you're allowed to keep one rifle or shotgun or something and one pistol, um, which technically could mean you could buy if you had a lot of money that wasn't exempt, you could buy a rifle that was worth. I mean, you could buy rifles that are worth $20,000. So if you have one rifle that is exempt, you could file bankruptcy and keep it. I don't know if I ever told anyone that, but you could do that. But in other states, it might be you can have a rifle or a shotgun and a pistol valued under a certain amount of money. In Oklahoma, it says any debtor may keep up to 2,000 worth of guns in Oklahoma bankruptcy, provided these guns are for personal or family use, such as hunting or self-defense. The vast majority of guns fall under this rule. Okay, so if the guy has a gun collection, it depends what the value is. If it's over $2,000, significantly, a trustee could have someone come out and praise those guns, and he could either take the guns and the excess guns and sell them, or the attorney might try to talk this guy into filing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy to protect the guns. Under a Chapter 13, a debtor would pay a trustee a certain amount of money over a period of 3 to 5 years to protect an asset that otherwise he would lose under a regular bankruptcy. So it kind of depends on. He says he's looking for a second opinion. I don't know what he was told in the first place, but frankly, he may not even need to file bankruptcy because, if you're a senior and you have guns and someone sues you and gets a judgment, they're not going to come take your guns. It's not. I've never seen that happen in 46 years of practice. Now, where it could happen is if you filed a bankruptcy and then you got a trustee involved. That trustee, he gets paid a fee and he has more powers, and that's what they do. They're a little bit more aggressive. So, for a lot of reasons, bankruptcy could be a bad idea for a senior. It can harm a senior. It depends on the facts, but the vast majority of seniors have no need to file bankruptcy, and for a lot of different reasons. A bankruptcy can get you in trouble. Okay, not always, but for a lot of seniors, just totally unnecessary. I'll give you another example. Let's say you had a home, and your exemption in the state was $50,000 equity in the home, and the home is worth $200,000, and you owed $50,000. So you take $50,000, what you owe, plus $50,000 your homestead exemption. It was worth $200,000. You have $100,000 equity in the home. Okay. If you filed a bankruptcy, a trustee could say, "Oh, well, this is nice. I'm going to put your home on the market and sell it. I'm going to pay off your loan. I'm going to give you $50,000. We're going to use the other money we make from the sale of your home and pay your creditors with it." And you'd say, well, "I didn't want that to happen." Well, it just happened. Well, I mean, if you did nothing, it's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors to ever go after a person's home if they sue and get a judgment if you have equity over and above the homestead exemption. They just don't do it for a lot of different reasons. I've talked about this time and time again. So for a lot of different reasons, bankruptcy can get you in trouble. Now, most bankruptcy attorneys, the vast majority, know what to do, and they would be able to tell you that. But I'm afraid some of them might steer you into saying, well, you need to file a Chapter 13. That would protect your home, and then, but then under the Chapter 13, you're required to make a monthly payment for 3 to 5 years to pay your debt off, or at least what they would get under a regular bankruptcy. And you could end up with a $500 or $600 payment paying your debt, and now all of a sudden you're struggling. It's really difficult for you. And when you need to do that in the first place, I've talked to a surprising number of people that have called me that are in Chapter 13, and I look at it and I said, well, why in the Chapter 13? I mean, Chapter 13 is voluntary. You can dismiss it at any time. You can just stop making the payment. If it gets dismissed, these creditors aren't going to be able to do anything to you. The reason you were steered into a Chapter 13, I can see the reason behind it, but the real reason behind it was because the attorney was going to get an attorney fee that's pretty sizable. Chapter 13 attorney fees are often twice or more than what a regular bankruptcy fee would be. So, an attorney could rationalize that does bankruptcy and say, yeah, this person needs to file Chapter 13, but they don't look at the reality of the fact that if he doesn't do anything, the creditors are going to take his asset. And for example, a husband and wife, the debt was in the husband's name, and they own the property together. The husband was 70 and the wife was 60. The husband's going to die before the wife. And when he dies, the property's going to go to the wife. The judgment's going to disappear. So there's a gazillion reasons why bankruptcy in the vast majority of cases won't make sense for a senior. There are exceptions. I'm not bashful about telling people when a bankruptcy could make sense, and I steer them to someone that could help them file bankruptcy. But a lot of reasons it isn't the case. Okay. I don't know where this person is from, but it says, "Hello, I'm writing for my mother who is in a nursing home at this time. I just got a private process server summons for my mother. It was left on the ground in front of the front door. Paperwork could still be there if I did not live there." Okay, that's probably not valid service, but it doesn't matter. You got to realize, process servers, they get paid a fee when they serve someone. Okay, so they might just, they're supposed to knock on the door and give it to someone who lives there, normally someone over a certain age, or the person. But in this case, they couldn't serve you, so they just put it there, and they're going to report that they served you. Now, you might be able to challenge the service, but that costs money and it's technical. But anyway, let me go on with what they say. "I live in the house with her and was looking on YouTube for information and came upon your helps videos and wondering what to do next. I do not answer the telephone when it rings because it's usually someone asking for her or these Medicaid enrollment calls. I do not like phones, and I've learned to text, yet after listening to your advice, I know that her Social Security and VA money is safe from the law." You bet it is. The nursing home already takes her Social Security and her and I have her VA money sent to her nursing home under her name. I don't know how they did that. I also have Social Security early retirement, so I have some money coming in for the house bills. Not enough. She has 3 credit cards that have not been paid for over a year. I do not know what my next move is right now. The nursing home, as attorneys that I have just found out not too long ago, I do not know who to trust anymore. Yeah, that can be. I tell anyone that, if they listen to our videos, study helps out. Listen to our videos people have. Uh, Talk to anyone unless they trust us. If I talk to anyone, they're hesitant to answer our question, this daughter that doesn't need to worry about the credit card debt. She doesn't need a lawsuit. If Yep, sorry about that. I have this little button on my. I can't see it here, and sometimes I will accidentally push that, and everything goes dead. Okay, okay, we're almost done for the day. Yeah, hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. Keep cutting out. Well, sometimes I think when you hear me cutting out, it's just because I can talk. Interrupt myself and stop talking. Okay? So we just got a couple more minutes. Okay, this person writes this from Missouri. It says, I'm 71 years old. I collect Social Security of $2,100 a month. I have a full-time job grossing $2,800 per month. I live with a family member and pay $1,000 towards her expenses. My credit card debts are killing me. I have a car payment of $350 per month. If I quit paying all my credit cards, how much can I earn before they can garnish my wages in the state of Missouri? I don't want to file bankruptcy. I'm not worried about my credit score. The credit cards have at least 30% or more in interest rate. That's about it. Okay, let me answer that question. The guy gets Social Security, but he's also working, and he's probably netting at least $2,000 a month. Okay, there's a federal law applicable in all 50 states that protects $217.50 net per week in wages. But a lot of states protect more than that. Some states don't even allow garnishment. For example, Texas. South Carolina, I don't think does either. There's a few other states that don't. Pennsylvania. But some states protect more than that. Like, California might protect maybe $600-700 a month, a week. It depends on the state, but if your state doesn't have amplified protections for wages, it goes down to the federal amount, which is a minimum of $2,750. That's like $950 a month. And Missouri, I think, is $217.50. So if it doesn't do anything and these creditors were to sue him, does that mean they're going to garnish his wages? Not necessarily. They'd have to know where you work. That's not easy. There's no place you're going to go to find out where someone works unless you've worked there a long time and there's other records of that somewhere. You could work less hours, they couldn't garnish, but these are the kind of things we talk to people and go over with them. Okay? So it's been an hour. I want to thank you for participating today. I hopefully answered some questions. If you have any more questions, you can put them in the chat feature or in the comments, and I'll try to answer them tomorrow. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe, press the like button, and especially if you've got more questions, call us on the phone, 855-435-7787. We're glad to talk to you. Some people call us 2, 3, 4, 5 times or more before they decide to enroll in helps. We want you to get your questions answered. Our most important message is that you don't need to worry if you're a senior struggling with debt or disabled. You can be protected. You don't have to be harassed by creditors. The money is safe for you. So everyone have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. God bless. See you later.